Keep it going for your host, everybody. How's it going? Thank you. How are we feeling tonight, Laughing Academy? Cool. My name is Mike Pickerel. Some of you might actually recognize me from over there. That's where I was prior to now. You don't have to look. I'm here now. That's where I am. We're nice and relaxed. We got our feet on the stage. That's pretty cool. That's fun. Just promise me if I say anything you don't like tonight, you'll just kick me. That'll be great. I am a recovering addict. Yeah, that's true. There was a time in my life when I was a homeless heroin addict, and now I'm doing comedy in my 30s because I'm still trying to hit bottom. Yeah, I actually made the decision when I was at the worst of my addiction to convert to veganism because I was worried about my health. Yeah, couldn't possibly be the hundreds of dollars of narcotics I was putting in my body each day. It was definitely the cheese that was the problem. Whenever people find out like you're both vegan and a junkie, they have a way bigger problem with the vegan part. Like, tell someone you're a junkie, you get undeserved sympathy. Tell someone you're a vegan, you get misplaced anger. Like, I used to have conversations with people where I'm just like, yeah, you know, I used to shoot up and live behind a dumpster. And they were just like, oh man, I can't believe you didn't eat bacon. You guys are fun. My personal favorite was always, oh, you're vegan, so you think you're better than me. I just stole money from you, so... Yeah, even when I overdosed, the paramedics were like, whoa, let's hold off on the Narcan and get this guy 10 cc's of a ham sandwich. At which point, of course, I did wake up. Not because of the ham sandwich, but because I just had to tell them I'm vegan. I also did a lot of cocaine while I was out there. Because you don't just go from like 0 to heroin. There's a few pit stops you make along the way. Like you can't just break into your parents' heroin cabinet and get messed up with your friends on the 1920s bottle of morphine they have stashed. That's not what's happening. Now, I think after weed, two paths diverge in Scumbag Woods. You either go the cocaine and narcotics route, or the mushrooms, acid, and fish concert route. My friends were all trying psychedelics and telling me about these like really profound spiritual experiences they were having. So I decided to give them a shot. And at some point between when the world started breathing and the sun rose from the bottom of the ocean, I had the epiphany, that the meaning of life really isn't any of my business. God's not waiting around heaven to tell the secrets of the universe to some shaggy-haired, smelly white dude. So I stuck with cocaine. And besides, cocaine spoke to me and it said, hey, buddy, how much money you got? It's perfectly normal to know a guy named Magic. You should stay up for 3 days writing a book. That's what... Like, don't get me wrong, no one should do cocaine. Like, nobody deserves to feel that good for nothing. Like, you know that sense of accomplishment you get when you finally achieve something you've worked really hard for? That should cost more than $60. Like my little sister, she's got her master's degree in sociology. The only thing I've ever studied was a spooky-looking van that was parked across the street while I was standing naked, peering through the blinds at 4 in the morning. I've never understood those people that can just like casually do cocaine. Like, how do you do the drug that makes you feel like Jimi Hendrix, even while you're struggling to tune the guitar and think, this is just a sometimes thing I do. Just gotta do this sometimes. If I can be perfectly candid with you guys, I actually did more crack than powder cocaine while I was out there. It just pairs better with heroin. It's the beer of champagnes is what I'm trying to say. people often ask me, Mike, what's the main difference between powder cocaine and crack? And I tell them, crack gets you much harder and faster. Plus, it'll have you hearing church bells. So you'll be shaking hands with God when you say to you, hey, Mike, you know that idea you had to write that book? Well, the words to that book are hidden on these license plates, so go ahead and start decoding them. Yeah, powder cocaine will make you want to start a business with your friend. Crack will make you burn that business down for the insurance money. And have you ever actually bought coke so bad that you could bake with it? Like, it's actually cheaper than buying pastry flour from Jewel. Like, sometimes I call up my old dealer just so he can come over and we bake banana bread together. Which is great, because now that I'm in recovery, my favorite white powder is sugar. That's cool for me. I first tried heroin because I wanted to be a great jazz man. And I kept doing heroin because I figured out that's the only way you can actually enjoy jazz. Eventually, I stopped doing heroin because I figured out my high school band teacher's the only one that still likes jazz. Also, he stopped selling me heroin. A lot of people are worried now because scientists have said that there's microplastics in all our bodies. I'm not that upset about it, though, because I have been snorting dope cut with drywall dust for years. This isn't a gut, this is plaster of Paris. I used to huff computer duster. Now whenever I sneeze, my keyboard gets clean. To give you an idea of how bad it got while I was out there, at one point I did have a girlfriend in my active addiction, and she broke up with me because of it. Even though she was an alcoholic. Straight set of priorities, yeah. Now her idea of foreplay is trying to find a corkscrew. Date night consisted of us happening to pass out at the same time. That's what happened there. I did finally manage to quit. It's weird when you quit, knowing that the greatest thing you've accomplished in your life is just not to do something. Like growing up, I wanted to not be a doctor, and I've accomplished that. I feel like I should get way more credit. One of the methods I used to quote was rehab, and before you go to rehab, you have to do this thing called detox, which is where they get all of the illegal drugs out of your system and replace them with the ones the pharmaceutical companies want in there. I first did detox as an adolescent, and adolescent detox is a lot like Muslim heaven. You're surrounded by 72 virgins, but they're all shaking in beds kicking dough. And actually, they aren't really virgins, so, a lot of people in rehab, actually, I did eventually go to rehab, and the nice thing about rehab is that everyone there is named Mike. I was in one rehab where I roomed with these two guys. One was named Shoeless Mike, and the other was Hippie Mike. Neither of them had shoes. That's the nice thing about showing up to rehab without a pair of shoes to wear, is that there is a very tangible first thing you can do to make your life substantially better. Like step 1, get clean. Step 2, acquire shoes. In the third step, we're required to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understand Him. And while you can pick any God, the capital G, that really implies that only one is correct. No, seriously, you can pick any God, which is great because there's so many to choose from. There's Christ, Buddha, Zeus, the Amish one, not sure who that is. Yeah. I picked the Hulk, so my God can beat up your God. Now, I actually early on in recovery, so it's not to alienate anyone, they actually tell you that you can even pick a doorknob. Not sure what kind of crazy word association was going on when the 12 steps were first invented, but that's a pretty insane first leap. When I say God, what do you think of? Doorknob. Not sure you should be allowed outdoors. Keep coming back, just don't sit too close to me. Now, there's a big drug problem in our society, and personally, I don't know what to do about it. But you think at some point Congress would call Ziploc into a hearing and ask them to stop making those miniature plastic baggies? We all know what those are for. No one out there is just like, hey, I want to store my Legos individually. No one's doing that. All right, guys, I've been my people. Have a great night.
Good job.
Great job, Mike.
Thank you, brother.
Okay, this next comic is our last comic of the evening.